Do we like just talk in the meantime about stuff?
Sure, why not?
Like right now, Jimmy?
Sure. Let's talk fantasy football.
You know, David, I was looking at the games this week, and we talked about the whole quarterback situation. And we talked about Tim Tebow enough, so I'm not going to really believe the thing about Tim Tebow. San Diego plays at Kansas City, and I was thinking about that because Phillip Rivers has had such a bad start right now. I've heard people say that he's hurt. I'm not sure I believe that or not. Is Phillip Rivers, in your opinion, a good play this week at Kansas City? I think he is.
He's still a good play. Phillip Rivers is a top-notch quarterback in the NFL shot, and he's still a good play in fantasy. I do think that it's time to start reeling in expectations. He's not going to have a Tom Brady type year. He's not going to have one of these elite fantasy quarterback type years anymore. It's too late in the season to help for that. But we did see. Think about the turnaround Ben Roethlisberger's had in the last few weeks. The beginning of the season, he was dreadful, completely dreadful. And the last few weeks, he had a 5-touchdown game. He put up another 30-something points last week. He's going to have another huge game this week against New England, most likely. At least put up a ton of yardage. So Phillip Rivers is still a very good play. I think the Antonio Gates thing is really hurting him. I think the fact that Gates has been in and out of the lineup is really hurting his production.
And also in that game, Matt Castle. Remember Kansas City began 0-3? They won like 3 games in a row. They're playing really well right now. And I think that Matt Castle against San Diego and the Chiefs are at home, I think Matt Castle is a fabulous play.
So you keep saying that. I can't say Matt Castle's a fabulous play. San Diego still has a good defense, and I don't know what to expect out of Kansas City. Kansas City played against Oakland last week, where they had a situation where it was the Oakland Raiders started Kyle Bowler and then Carson Palmer. So they played against Indy. So I don't think it's a great play this week. Decent if you need him for a bye. We got a question up here though, Shot.
Here's one from Elvis, and he says, I have Dallas Clark and I have Brent Selleck. Who do I start this week? Brent Selleck. With Michael Vick at quarterback, Brent Selleck's not what he once was. When McNabb was there a couple of years ago, he was a premier tight end. And Michael Vick does not throw to Brent Selleck at all. I think that Dallas Clark, believe it or not, for the Colts, is a better play than Brent Selleck is this week.
Not a great situation to be in with these two guys. Maybe should have tried to get Fred Davis if he was still out there. But I think for Indianapolis, they play Tennessee this week. Dallas Clark's going to have more chances. Brent Selleck, there's been a couple of Brent Selleck sightings the last couple of weeks in Philly, but not enough to put him in there. He could go catchless in this game, and you don't want to have a guy on your team put up 0 points. So a big 0 is not what you want. Dallas Clark's going to get some looks, targets, as we say.
Yeah, I think Brent Selleck to me is really good, but because of how Michael Vick uses tight ends in that scenario, he's not that great of a play. Here's somebody else here.
Trying to trade Eli Manning for Aaron Hernandez. Why won't this guy trade me? I don't know, to be honest with you. He must be set at quarterback and not want to give up his starting tight end. I mean, if you needed a quarterback and you had Aaron Hernandez, someone's going to give Eli Manning for him, you'd swap that in a second. Honestly, I don't even know if that trade would fly in some leagues. That's a situation where somebody must be set at quarterback and not need Eli Manning and don't want to give up their starting tight end.
Here's the thing about Aaron Hernandez right now is that even though they have Rob Gronkowski at the same time, those guys both put up numbers in each game.
And they both play at the same time.
Don't be fooled in the whole Patriots scenario by saying they're both tight ends. They're going to cancel each other out. They both have big games almost every game. When Brady throws the ball out, they're both great plays.
Another one here, Shot. Andre Johnson, big topic of conversation this week, the hamstring problem. Will Andre Johnson play this weekend?
No. Andre Johnson.
Game time decision, according to Coach Kubiak.
Game time decision. I read a comment yesterday where he said his hamstring is quote-unquote tugging from the back.
Right.
That's never a good sign.
Exactly.
I think what Houston's going to be very careful right here. Andre Johnson is susceptible to a setback right here. I know Houston could use him right now, but I don't see it happening this weekend. If you have Andre Johnson in the fantasy league, find somebody else to play for him. I don't see it being a good idea this week.
One of the guys I recommended, Shot, on the fantasy page is if you could scoop Antonio Brown up this week. He's still available in some leagues, or if you have him on your bench, he's a guy to put in this week. Hines Ward might be hurt. If you're an Andre Johnson guy and you're looking for someone to put in there and get production, Antonio Brown hasn't scored a touchdown this year yet, but he's getting like 8 to 10 targets a game and 5 to 8 catches every single game. He's put up a couple of 100-yard games, and he's a big play guy. And against New England this week, I think that's the type of game that he could have a huge game in. Antonio Brown, this could be a breakout week.
Antonio Brown against the Patriots is a great play. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Two good quarterbacks like to throw the ball deep, and I think Antonio Brown's a great play. Here's a question, David, from Big Al.
It's about food, Shot. This one's all you.
It says shot chicken wings, breaded or unbreaded.
I'm an unbreaded guy, Shot.
I'm going to go unbreaded.
I'm an unbreaded guy.
I mean, I like wings both ways.
I like them hot and naked.
Naked.
Yeah.
Oh, without the things on them.
Unbreaded.
Unbreaded, I got you. Yeah, unbreaded all the way. Hot and unbreaded is the way to go. Definitely.
Here's one from Susan. Shot. Victor Cruz had a big week prior to the bye. Should I start him over Nate Washington? Nate Washington is pretty much the number one receiver over there in Tennessee. They play Indianapolis this week. The Giants play Miami.
I'd start Victor Cruz. Here's exactly why. I think that Eli Manning is going to throw the ball more this week, and he's a better quarterback than Matt Hasselbeck is. I got a funny feeling, Dave, with Matt Hasselbeck in Tennessee. I think he'll have diminished returns from here on forward. I think we've seen the best of him already. I don't see him holding up the entire year. They have Jake Locker sitting right there. I think that Eli Manning is good enough, and Victor Cruz gets a lot of targets every single week. I think Victor Cruz is a great play this week against Miami.
The other thing is, I think Tennessee is really going to try to get Chris Johnson going this week. Indianapolis has given up, I think, 100 yards and a touchdown. They gave up 95 yards to three different Saints running backs last week, Shot, in that game.
They did?
Yeah, Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas, and Mark Ingram.
Three guys had 90 plus?
Right. Never
seen that before.
So that's a situation where you got to figure they're going to go heavy on the run. Chris Johnson's got to get going. I would go Victor Cruz. The Giants are going to throw a lot in this game, and he's become that slot receiver they're looking for.
Here's one, David. Maurice Jones-Drew has put up yards so far this year, but no touchdown. Should I start him over Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis? Definitely, I would.
Absolutely, and Green Ellis has been dealing with a little bit of a toe thing up and down. We've talked about this before, Shot. New England running backs, you don't really want to start them ever with Bill Belichick going in. They're playing Pittsburgh, who's traditionally good against the run. I know the defense hasn't been what it's always been this year, but Jarvis, Green Ellis, Maurice Jones-Drew is putting up numbers. He's running hard. And who do they play this? Jacksonville has Houston this week, who's a decent defense, but I think they're playing with a little bit of confidence. Jones-Drew's been running hard. He's going to get the goal line carries. Tom Brady throws a lot of touchdowns. Go Jones-Drew.
I think Jones-Drew is a very solid play this week against Houston. You have a rookie quarterback. Mario Williams for Houston is done for the year, the best defensive player. I think that Maurice Jones-Drew will get in the end zone this week, or at least have enough carries and catches where he's a great fantasy play, no question about that.
At the beginning of the year, when we talked prior to the drafts and stuff, we weren't sure what Jones-Drew was going to give us this year. He had the knee thing, and he's bounced back nice. He's put himself back up there in top-notch running back. Obviously, Jacksonville doesn't score a ton of points right now, so he's not getting all the touchdowns, but he's getting yards each week. He's getting big-time carries each week.
Comment from Bob. He says, Cam Newton or Eli Manning?
That's a
Eli
tough one.
Manning has got Miami.
Cam Newton's got Minnesota this week.
Cam Newton has got Minnesota. I would take, here's why I would take Cam Newton. Cam Newton this year, in case you haven't noticed, has got 7 touchdowns rushing.
Yes.
In fantasy, quarterbacks that can do that are monstrous. If a quarterback finishes the year with 7 yards rushing, that's a lot. He has 7, and we're now in week number 8.
Cam Newton has 14 rushing carries inside the 5-yard line or something like that, something crazy like that. Cam Newton's going to put up points. I think Eli's going to have a good game this week, but again, this could be a run-heavy game for the Giant offense. Cam Newton's almost matchup-proof at this point, Shot, because of the rushing yards.
I think Cam Newton, because, as David said, of the rushing yards, 7 touchdowns through 7 games, 7 weeks this season, is monstrous. I think Cam Newton's a better player than Eli Manning, believe it or not.
Here we go. Who gets the most character in Washington with Hightower? It's got to be Ryan Terrain, I think, Shop, over Roy Halu Jr.
It's going to be Ryan Terrain right now. Now, of course, the knock on Terrain, we've seen this for years. I go back to Arizona State. I go back to the Broncos. He's always hurt. Shanahan loves him. He's going to get the ball. Roy Halu is there. And after that, they even have Evan Royster from Penn State.
I mean,
remember him? But
you're
Ryan
not putting
Terrain,
him in there.
But Ryan Terrain this week, for the Redskins next game, Ryan Terrain is the main running back over there.
They're playing Buffalo, who gives up a ton of yardage. So Ryan Terrain's a good guy to plug in there this week. He's going to get yards. He's going to get carries. He might get some goal line carries. They're going to put Halu in there and some passing downs and things like that. But if you're going to start any of those guys, Ryan Terrain's the guy that's going to get the most benefit from Hightower.
Look at this question, David. Comment from a guy named Sampson. What do you like better for a team named the Salty Dogs or the Vultures?
We got to go Vultures on that one.
Well, we respect the touchdown vulture in fantasy football. We've seen some of the best touchdown vultures of all time. The vulture sounds kind of cool because of what it stands for in fantasy football. I'm going to go the Vultures.
Yeah, Vultures. Although as a bartender, I appreciate the salty dogs.
Now, David, is a salty dog, is that rum and
See, shot a vodka and grapefruit juice is called a Greyhound.
vodka and grapefruit juice? They drink
so,
those together?
So if you salt the rim and then you put it in, and then it's a Greyhound is a dog, then it's a salty dog. You get it?
Vodka and grapefruit juice.
Yes.
My God. I couldn't even drink that stuff.
There's one from Bob Shot. Thomas Jones or Roy Halou. Not a great choice to have right there.
Bob, I hope this is a bye-week dilemma we have right here. Thomas Jones, they have Jackie Battle over there. They have
Thomas Jones has been downright awful this year.
They have McCluster over there. I think Thomas Jones is done. I can see a scenario where Ryan Terrain starts, gets hurt in the first quarter, and Roy Halou comes in and puts up big numbers against Buffalo. Roy Halou, Bob, is your guy.
Roy Halou's also a guy, a third down type back shot, dump passes, things like that. We talked about Buffalo. This could be a high scoring game. Buffalo gives up a ton of yardage. They're one of those teams that's in the top of offense, but in the bottom of defense as well. So they're going to give up a lot of yards. Not a great situation to be in, but I would go Halou.
Roy Halou is your guy. As I said, Ryan Terrain's going to get hurt at some point in time, really soon. I think Halou should be your guy this week. Thomas Jones. He's been around a long time, and now he appears to be downright done.
Yeah, I think he's done right now. He's a guy that maybe could help a good team in a good situation. He can't carry a team anymore. We're seeing stuff like this, though, Shot, because of the bye weeks and injuries. The bye weeks have really started to get some of these guys, and you're seeing situations like this. Here's one from Alex Shot. 2 out of these 3, Antonio Brown, Hakeem Nicks, and Mike Thomas of Jacksonville.
I don't like Mike Thomas at all. I'm going to go Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh.
Of course, Hakeem Nicks.
And I go Antonio Brown, like the matchup, and he's good. And Hakeem Nicks, the Giants. I'm not a big Mike Thomas guy in Jacksonville.
One thing about Thomas, Shot, is they were having some problems with the kicking game, and their other returner, I forget his name, was muffing a lot of punts and stuff. So Mike Thomas has been back there, and now they're not playing him as much in the receiving game. They also bring Mike Sims Walker back, who got, I think, 58 snaps last week at wide receiver, and Mike Thomas only got about 30.
No, really. I think that, I'd go Antonio Brown and definitely Hakeem Nicks.
Curtis wants to know who's playing quarterback for the Dolphins this week. That would be the one and only Matt Moore with J.P. Lossman on the sidelines.
Is J.P. Lossman one bad play away from starting for the Dolphins?
Yeah, actually, Matt Moore has been hit an unbelievable amount of times the last couple of weeks, and he's been banged up, Shot. He's one of those guys that just keep going out there because, he's Matt Moore, and he's got to show whatever he can whenever he can. But Sage Rosenfeld's done for the year. Chad Henne done for the year. Matt Moore, if he goes out, J.P. Lossman will come into the game. So this might be a good week to start the Giant defense against Miami.
It's hard to believe that J.P. Lossman is back in the NFL.
I think he last played with Seattle. Was the last team he played with.
He did?
I think he might have played with them.
What is this buffoonery here?
Well, the Dolphins smashed the Giants. Samson, that'll be a big no right there. The Dolphins have very little chance to beat the New York Football Giants.
If the Giants started the shot doctor at quarterback, they'd beat the Dolphins this week.
Talked about this before, Shot. What's going on with Phillip Rivers from Mike? Is he going to turn things around, or should I sit him?
David, I studied some film of Phillip Rivers. I watched last night all the games he's played this year. I watched a lot of his throws. Phillip Rivers is like a batter right now that's in a slump in baseball. He's got a mechanical problem. His body, when he throws, it'd be lower body first, followed by the arm. The arm's ahead of the body right now. He's been very inaccurate, usually very high. If he makes the mechanical adjustment and gets back to the body first and the arm second, he'll light it up this week. I'm telling you right now, Phillip Rivers is the guy in your league that you want to get right now while the price is low.
Yeah, he insists that he's completely healthy. There were some rumors out there that he might be hurt and hiding an injury. We might find out about this after the year. I honestly think the Antonio Gates thing's been a huge part of this, Shot, through the beginning of the season. Antonio Gates has been his best receiver over the years. I know he's got Vincent Jackson, but teams can take guys like Vincent Jackson out. There's a lot of teams with good cornerbacks. There's a lot of defensive ways you can take guys out. But Antonio Gates is a matchup nightmare, and he's been very inconsistent this year. He hasn't been on the field very much.
Here's a Jackie Battle question. Is Jackie Battle the real deal?
I would not trust Jackie Battle long term, Shot.
Who's trusting Jackie Battle?
He's a good guy to plug in for the bye weeks. He's going to get all the carries there in Kansas City. He's going to get some goal line touches. He's going to score some touchdowns. But if you have a real running back, Jackie Battle, is he going to put up a lot of big stat lines throughout the course of the year?
I'd be shocked if he did. If you're in a bye week dilemma right now, which appears you are, you can play Jackie Battle. Can I trust him? I would not.
Yeah, I just don't think that it's the type of guy that you can trust at this point. He hasn't shown. He had about one really good week, and we'll see what he does this week against San Diego. But if you have better options, I would put him in there. Like, this is not a situation where you sit Chris Johnson to start Jackie Battle, is what I'm trying to say.
All right, David, it's a comment from Samson. I have a feeling the Giants are going to go down.
I hate these games, Sean. I hate these. I hate when my team that I root for is playing a winless team.
Why?
Because these winless teams, they want to get a victory. It's always like one of those trap games. And this is the thing, though. Justin Tuck's back. Brandon Jacobs back. The Giants are healthy. They're better at pretty much every position. I just can't see any way they lose this game. And they're at home.
David, I love games like this. Anytime I'm sitting there and my team has the hapless Dolphins coming in, I feel good about that.
Here's one. Where is Percy Harvin? Percy Harvin, the beginning of the year shot, I thought he was going to be a fantasy monster this year. I said, Don McNabb's going to throw the ball to him. They got Adrian Peterson to open things up. This is the year Percy Harvin's going to explode. He dropped some weight. He was supposed to be better. He's going to play this week. He was back at practice today, but he's having a very bad year.
Let me tell you something. Christian Ponder has got a good arm.
Yes.
He played last week, and even though they lost, Christian Ponder showed some hope.
Percy didn't make it through that game, by the way. He came out halfway through with a rib injury.
Yeah, he's always hurt. If Percy Harvin gets healthy and he gets in there, his numbers will go up with Christian Ponder throwing the ball.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the week you sit him is the week that you're going to see him catch a dump pass and take it for 65 yards.
I hate when that happens.
I mean, with the bye weeks out, if you have Percy on your roster, you probably don't have a better option than him right now. I wouldn't start sitting him for secondary guys. Take a look at your options. Percy Harvin's been a big disappointment so far this year. A lot of people drafted him high thinking he was going to have this monster year, have this breakout year, this number one wide receiver type year. He hasn't had that yet, but he is going to play this week. He did practice today, so I'd expect decent numbers from him. The offense looked much better with Ponder.
Let me just say this. Ponder will be a boon to Percy Harvin. As the season goes on, Harvin's going to get better. What is this? Donovan McNabb is winning. Why'd they bench me? Well, have you watched yourself play?
Yeah. Donovan, that's because you can't complete a pass, and the offense was very stagnant while you were in there. It was sad to see Donovan McNabb turn out this. But did you see the offense the last week shot with Ponder? It looked alive. It looked like a real NFL offense. Never looked like that with McNabb back there.
I agree. How about this one from Ringer? T.O., find a team yet.
The Chicago Rush of the Arena League offered him a contract.
Nah, I believe we've finally seen the last of this guy. I think it's finally happened.
Now, I think in the right situation, a contending team might take a chance, but that has to be a contending team that doesn't need a wide receiver. That does need a wide receiver. That doesn't already have a good wide receiver. And you could think of maybe Chicago, Baltimore might be in that, could use a guy like that, but. Is that knee 100%, and do you really want to bring all the baggage that comes with T.O. into a situation where a competing team? So I don't know I don't think T.O. is going to have.
Actually, didn't Terrell Owens? Wasn't he once traded to Baltimore?
He was traded to Baltimore.
Remember that?
Refused to go.
Yeah, they're not going to bring him there. There's no way. All right, Chris Johnson versus Indy, or DeMarco Murray versus Philadelphia.
Tough one.
You know what I'm going to do? Chris Johnson breaks out against the Colts. Just when everybody thought Chris Johnson had a bad attitude, had too much money, was out of shape, no way. Chris Johnson against the Colts, bingo.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. DeMarco Murray had a great game last week, and I think he'll have another good game this week. But this is one of those situations where, what do we really know about DeMarco Murray? He had an unbelievable game last week. We've seen this before, though, and then guys come out and rush for 35 yards, and we don't see him again. Chris Johnson's going to blow up at some point. Does anybody think that this guy is a complete bust now and he's just never going to be good again? Indianapolis is awful. They're one of the worst rushing defenses in the entire league. If you're going to start Chris Johnson any week, this is the week to start him. It's going to be a shame if you put Murray on the bench and he has a monster game and Chris Johnson. For Carlos, if I'm in your situation, this is Chris Johnson's last chance. If he kind of gives you the shaft and screws you over this week, then I wouldn't start him the rest of the year.
Here's one from Rick. Do you expect Blaine Gabbert to line up the dreadful Texans this weekend? I say they win by 14 in a breakout game for Gabbert. No. They're not. First of all, they're not going to beat the Texans, number one. And number two, it's not going to be a high-scoring game. I think a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew in this game, but I don't see Blaine Gabbert lighting up the Texans. No way.
What's the offensive coordinator of the Jaguars' name again? Custer or Cutter or something like that? Whatever his name is.
They're Cutter.
Yeah, there he is. he actually said that Blaine Gabbert took a huge step back this week, even though they won the game. He said his mechanics were a mess. His throwing motion was all over the place, and they only throw for about 90 yards a game. So I'm not really sure that this is the big breakout week against the Texans, who have Wade Phillips, who is a good defensive coordinator.
Here's one from Dirk. Can we set a date for our fantasy NBA drafts yet?
According to you, yes, right, Chad?
Dirk, set it for this weekend. This thing is almost done. David Stern, Mr. Bluff, he talked about we're gonna stop the season, all this kind of stuff. He's on his hands and knees begging Billy Hunter for a deal right now. This deal's gonna get done in the next couple of days, I guarantee it. Dirk, set your draft for Saturday. It's gonna happen. David Stern has been stopped.
Better sleeper this week, Shot. Michael Jenkins, who had a big game last week, or Steve Breston, who's over there in KC?
Wow. I'm going to go Steve Breston. I think the Kansas City-San Diego game's got a chance to be a very high-scoring game.
The only thing is Michael Jenkins is the number one receiver over there now, and they're playing Carolina.
How can that be?
They're playing Carolina.
Jenkins, I guess he has been.
Percy Harvin is really their number one, but he's banged up. He's going to play, but we don't know how long. He's got a rib injury, so that could be one of those things where he comes out early in the game. Honestly, I would go Michael Jenkins in this situation. I know what you're saying about that game. It could be high scoring, but he's the number one receiver, and Ponder hit him a couple of times deep last week. So maybe he's a rookie quarterback. He's got a favorite receiver already, maybe in Michael Jenkins, and Visanthe Shanko might not play in this one either.
What is this? Do you think the NFL ever start games early? I'm usually pretty hammered by the 4 p.m. kickoffs. I have an answer for you there, Drunk Tank. Why don't you start drinking later?
There you go, Shot. Or just to slow
it's
it down.
It's 4 o'clock. Drink later. Comment from Peyton Manning. Is this all Hillis' fault? What does he mean by that?
I'm not really sure. Peyton Hillis, though, Shot, has been a big, big disappointment. Now, I know we talked about the Madden curse and joke about that. Is Peyton Hillis a one-year wonder? Is this guy done after this?
No, he'll be back.
You think he's going to be back as a top-notch NFL running back?
He'll do what he did last year against somewhere else. He needs to get out of Cleveland and get healthy.
I think this is one of those situations where he had a big year, and I think he's going to Barry Foster us. Is what he's going to do.
Barry Foster. Wow. Comment from Peyton Manning. Madden cure hurt all Peytons this year. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay. I think he's saying Madden curse. By the way, Shot.
I think that Peyton Hillis needs to go to a new team next year. Once he does that, he'll be fine.
I don't know. He's a big back. He's a goal line type guy. He had a couple of huge runs last year. Nobody really saw him coming. I feel like teams were able to game plan for him this year and expect him coming. And plus, he's got this injury problem, and he's got his agent telling him not to play because of the contract. All he's doing by not playing is hurting his contract.
I think so. I mean, I'm leery to sign him next year, but some team will. Somebody like this, guys like this, relatively young, somebody will give him another chance, obviously, and he will turn things around with a new team and a new attitude.
He could be right. I wouldn't expect much from him for the rest of this year. That Cleveland offense isn't exactly a dynamic offense right now, Shot. So I don't think that they're going to be great for the rest of the year. I don't think Peyton Hillis is going to put up huge numbers. And he's a guy that a lot of people took early in the draft.
Comment from George the Jungle. Is Decker down with Tebow starting? Will we see Orton again this year? Number one, you want to see Orton.
No,
and number
you will
two,
not see
Decker. Well, Decker will again have fantasy value. If you have Decker on your team right now, relax. He'll still put up decent numbers with Tebow starting. You will not see Orton again this year.
I agree with the Orton thing. I don't really agree with Derek Decker. I don't think he's going to put up big numbers. They got Eddie Royal back. They got Demaryius Thomas back. Tim Tebow doesn't throw that much, or he does throw. He doesn't complete a lot of passes, and he needs guys to be kind of wide open. I think Demaryius Thomas is going to be the number one guy. Decker will still have some value, but I don't think there's going to be a ton of value there. But I will agree we will not see Kyle Orton again this season.
Comment from Jackson. Is Donald Driver even worth a roster spot at this point?
No.
Man, they used Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, James Jones,
Jermichael
Finley. Donald Driver, he's had a good career. Long time, but at this point in time, he's not worth a roster spot. Not the way Green Bay spreads the ball around.
You think about guys, Donald Driver, he's one of those guys. Hines Ward, longtime fantasy stud Shot, staples in fantasy football. Those guys are finally tailing off and being done with their career here.
You hate to see that. Here we go. Coming from Jackson, Tebow or Ponder?
I'm going Christian Ponder against Carolina this week, Shot. I do not like Tebow's matchup this week with Detroit. I just think it's going to be a tough matchup. Detroit, Detroit's only given up, I think, one 300-yard passer the whole year or something like that. They don't give up a ton of rushing touchdowns. They're only give up 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. I just think it's going to be a tough matchup for Tebow in this game. So I'm going Ponder.
I will go Ponder also. I like what I saw last week. Here's one from Jackson. What about Marion Barber? Is he worth holding on to?
There's been a couple of sightings the last couple of weeks.
Scored last week in London, I know that. But Matt Forte, as we've seen, is a main man over there. Marion Barber's valuable if you have Matt Forte on your team and you have him as a backup in case Forte goes down. But outside of that, not worth holding on to.
Yeah, I just think that Barber, it's not so much that Barber can't still play, I don't think. It's that Forte's been so good. Forte has been maybe the best back in the NFL so far this year, Shot. Matt Forte's been about as consistent as a fantasy running back can be. He's put up big points each and every week, and he continues to do that.
I told you guys that in the preseason. And Matt Forte, by the way, is in a contract year, and the Bears.
The price is going up by the minute.
Yep, and you know how the philosophy is about giving running backs big money.
And the Bears, I don't know if he's going to be a Bear next year. It's tough to give these guys long-time, big-time money. You see D'Angelo Williams, you see Chris Johnson. These guys got huge contracts. It's not really paying off.
D'Angelo Williams got $43 million from Carolina, and Jonathan Stewart's done better than he has.
Here's one. Would you trade the 49ers D for the running back injured? For the what? For the running back injured
Felix
from Dallas.
Jones.
Felix Jones. I forget his name. Okay. Yeah.
It's Felix Jones, and I would not.
You wouldn't trade the 49ers to get Felix Jones?
No. When Felix Jones comes back, he's going to get hurt again. You know, I've heard of the Felix Jones hype for 4 years now. It's always, this is the year. This is the year.
A defense for a running back, though?
Well, a defense for running back normally I would do, but for running back that's always going to be hurt, why would I want to do that?
Yeah, I understand that.
What has Felix Jones ever done?
I guess it depends on your running back situation and how the scoring's set up in your league. Because there are some leagues where defenses don't put up a ton of points. And
name me one time in his NFL career Felix Jones has ever been any good. I'll answer it for you. Never. When has he ever been any good?
I don't know, Shot. I don't. It's a good question. Felix Jones is the ultimate overhyped NFL running back, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's always hurt. From Drunk Tank, what's the deal with the female ref? What female ref?
There's a female ref?
In basketball there is. I haven't seen one in football.
I haven't seen one in football either, Shot.
Felix Jones? No. Felix Jones has burned us all. How many times in fantasy, when you're doing your prep work, you always hear, this is the year from this guy.
I fell for it. I thought
I've fallen for it before. We've all fallen for this kind of stuff. It's been 4 years now, and he's hurt again. Do I trust Felix Jones? Why would I want to trade for him?
I don't think you trade for him here, Shot. I think that's. I would trade the defense for him if you need a running back. Take a shot because Dallas scores a lot of points. But again, he's got me. Every time you see that little flag that says he's going to have a big game, it tells you to start him with confidence, and they project him to get 25 points. He always ends up screwing you over. So you can't trust that guy.
I'm not going to trust this guy. He's got me many times before, and if I have a chance to trade this guy, I'm it. All right, one last one here, David. I got screwed with Peyton Manning in the draft. Do I keep him with a 3rd pick next year? Yes, he'll be back.
I think he'll be back, too. I think there's no question that he starts again next year. He'll put up big numbers again next year. And, Peyton Manning will be an elite quarterback once again in fantasy.
Yeah, I keep Peyton Manning, and by next year, despite the fact the Colts are not very good, he'll be back throwing touchdown passes again next year. All right, David, great job today.
Our first overtime, Shot.
Our first overtime. Let's do it again next week, hopefully.
I'm ready.
Very good. This has been the Caddyshanks Fantasy Football Overtime on 740thegame.com. Have a good week in fantasy football.